Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Vancaster, Vice President of Product Marketing at Varicent. I'm joined in this video series by two experts among experts. Martin Fleming is Varicent's Chief Revenue Scientist and former Chief Economist at IBM and Fellow at the University of Manchester. And Danny Veksler is our guest and Managing Director at KPMG. Danny has over 15 years of experience in consulting sales and revenue teams on transformative journeys, advising companies of all shapes and sizes, from startups to the world's most prominent organizations. Thank you both for being here. And as you know, the goal of these conversations is to explore relatable trends that we're seeing in the broader market, the impact they're having to sales and revenue teams, and most importantly, what revenue leaders can do to combat these trends. So with that in mind, let's focus this conversation on what we're seeing time and again when it comes to supply chain disruption. Martin, unfortunately, unpredictable supply chain woes continue to be a struggle for many physical goods industries. These clogs in supply are posing many threats to sales teams who are trying to deliver revenue and maintain customer satisfaction. So can you elaborate for us on the types of supply chain risks that we continue to see, how they can impact a company's operations, and more specifically, revenue performance?
Sure. Thanks, Sarah. You're absolutely right. There are significant supply chain risks. And the way it's helpful to think about the risks are, there are really two. There are two sides to the supply chain risk coin. On the one hand, there are internal risks. And on the other hand, there are external risks. So the internal risks, of course, are the ability to deliver on commitments that sellers make. And we really do not want to be in a situation where customer expectations and customer satisfaction suffers as a result. So increasingly, it's very important to be able to anticipate and predict the necessary requirements to meet the sales commitments that are being made, and on the other hand, making sales commitments that can be met. So for sales leaders, there are really quite conflicted situations where sales leaders want to be able to forecast achievement of targets on a month-by-month or quarter-by-quarter basis. On the other hand, want to be realistic about what can and cannot be delivered, both in terms of goods production and from a manufacturing sector perspective, but also in terms of service delivery. Being able to have the workers with the skill in the locations that are necessary to deliver the service commitments as well. The other side of the coin, however, is the external supply chain disruption. And that creates both challenges and opportunities. Sellers are likely to find that as supply chain disruption occurs, there are some customers of longstanding who just really can no longer produce what's necessary and maybe not the best customers for continuing relationships. On the other hand, there may be new customers, new prospects who are finding opportunities in transformed supply chains. So we want to be on the lookout for where those new opportunities are beginning to occur. So one way to think about this is that supply chain transformation is fundamentally changing the playing field for sellers and sales leaders. And having the means and the mechanism to be able to understand customer demands and where they're coming from is critically important in this environment. So, Sarah, it's a big challenge, and we're focused on helping our clients achieve it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Martin. And I love thinking about it both ways, though. Certainly lots of challenges, but also the flip side of that, opportunities as well. So Danny, kind of turning to you, I know these challenges certainly sound familiar. So could you share an example of a new or innovative strategy that your clients have deployed to not only better navigate supply chain challenges that Martin was just going through, but most importantly for our audience, how they're able to ensure that their sales plans and comp strategies really remain aligned with the manufacturing realities and customer expectations?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. We're currently working with the multinational industrial manufacturer that has grown through a lot of acquisition. The acquisition was primarily focused on ensuring, global coverage in order to be able to manufacture and distribute their products all around the world. And the opportunity that became very obvious to the top of the house was in order for them to grow at the pace that they wanted to, they needed to attack the large enterprise customer segment. What was unique about the large enterprise customer segment is where a deal is done is not necessarily consistent with where, their products are going to be manufactured and distributed. And in the early going, they had data that very clearly showed that there was waning customer satisfaction among that segment due to misaligned expectations between what was being set in the sales process versus the reality of what was being delivered through the supply chain process. And the CEO of this organization, who historically hadn't invested in a lot of front office capabilities, realized the key for them to being able to succeed was to foster greater collaboration between the front and back office. And in the way that they went about this was through the notion of split crediting and putting their manufacturing and distribution capabilities on variable comp that was tied to NPS and customer sat as it related to better aligning expectations that were being set during the sales cycle all the way through to products being delivered to customers and ensuring that they were happy with the quality and delivery of those products across the globe. And in going through this process, they have been able to significantly improve both NPS and CSAT among that customer segment and have realized meaningful growth in the 12 months after deploying the capabilities to be able to activate this strategy through a new variable comp tool and in order to facilitate that alignment of expectations and delivering on their customer promises.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing. And there is just tremendous power in being able to drive that alignment, to incentivize folks really beyond the sales organization to really make sure that everyone is really working in service of driving and delivering what customers need, maintaining that higher level of satisfaction. What a great example. Thank you for sharing. And at Varicent, that is also why we exist, really helping customers solve these problems. We help customers design, amplify, and optimize their go-to-market strategies and really build that connected path to revenue. So from figuring out what the goals are, helping a CEO go after that enterprise space, but figuring out what that right path looks like to get there. So for anyone tuned in, as you continue to navigate current and future supply chain disruptions that we know will inevitably come, we can help deliver confidence in your go-to-market plans to help drive sustainable growth, even in the face of unpredictable supply and demand fluctuations. So Danny and Martin, thank you for your time. And for everyone tuned in to hear these two discuss additional challenges that revenue leaders are facing, continue to explore this video series on controlling revenue volatility.